Welcome to the Scoop World Order. We are all the way to Thursday practice. Big 3-day stretch for the Bucks. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. These guys are practicing. They're off Sunday, so big day today. A lot of the stars are working, which is good to know. Some are doing less than others, but we got at this point all hands on deck, so we're excited about that. We're gonna get into all that and Devin Brown, of course. With that being said, as always, we appreciate all of your patronage. The super chats have been unbelievable for Pay It Forward. Again, up till Christmas the 25th, we are going to be giving all of our super chat money to the Pay It Forward Fund, which we give memberships to our site out to people abroad, our troops, our armed forces. So we appreciate you guys supporting that. If you enjoy this content, leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. If you love these videos, join at buckeyescoop.com. It is our message board. It is our premium service. It's the number one fan experience for Ohio State football. It is always popping. We had a huge chat today. A lot of really good stuff today. A lot of inside info. It's always crazy. It's always popping. So we appreciate you guys. Shout out where you guys are watching from. And who needs to be the MVP of the Cotton Bowl for us to win? I think I know who Nevada Buck is going to say. Nevada, there's been a lot of buzz on Devin Brown through the first week of practice, along with today. He was outstanding. Talked to some people. Some of the superstars are working, which is good. I mean, I know they can always do the Chris Olave in practice up until the final bell, but I think a lot of these guys got a lot to prove. A lot of these guys didn't have the seasons they wanted to have. Guys like Trey, guys like Emeka, so they're out there grinding, which is good. I think that after the COVID year, which was a weird year, it gave people the ability to opt out. Guys like Micah Parsons, Jamar Chase literally sat out the entire season, and it kind of made it a trend to skip playing football for whatever reason. So I think it's starting to swing the other way at the Woody Hayes, and a lot of these guys want to actually go play ball one last time with their boys. But what are your thoughts on that? Guys like Trey Henderson, guys like Emeka, JT2 Maloau, Marvin Harrison Jr. These guys aren't all taking off immediately and going to train in Arizona or in Los Angeles or wherever. They're sticking around. They're working. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, a lot to unwind today, man. We had today, like you said, you had a practice. And what I will say about the Ohio State offensive game plan that they're unveiling so far for the bowl, it's the most innovative that I've ever seen since Ryan Day's been at Ohio State. I'm gonna say that right now. Most innovative, most interesting that I've seen, and that includes Clemson 2020, where we felt like he went to the bottom of the playbook. This one, he's clearly loose. He's clearly trying to kind of redefine what he wants to do with the offense. And I only hope that they continue on with this and he's willing to call these plays and run this in the bowl game because it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think, Ryan tends to do well in these situations where he can loosen himself up. Let's just be honest. The Michigan game tightens him up, and he just, he seems to lose his identity. We went away from things that were kind of staples this year, like orbit motion, and some of the things that we've done that have been so effective. But for this game, it's palpable in terms of how he's approaching this with a wide open playbook. Maybe it's the new quarterback, maybe it's a new outlook, whatever it is. It's interesting, and I personally can't wait to see how this folds out in 2 weeks against a Missouri team that is going to be blitzing. Missouri loves to blitz. They love to bring the pressure. They're always looking for the negative plays. That's the way that they play there. And will Ohio State have something in store for them? Well, I think they will. And like I said, I've been very encouraged by Devin Brown's play. More importantly, there was a post that was put out today by one of our insiders, Helping Technician, who's an insider at the Woody Hayes, and he talked about Devin Brown, and he kind of talked about the origin of the whole burn the boats thing that Devin Brown had put up there on his Twitter, and he kind of explained it that when Devin Brown sat down with Ryan Day and Ryan Day was talking about their future, Devin Brown told them, I'm in for the duration. You do what you got to do. I don't care. I'm not worried about competition. I don't care who you bring in. I don't care if you don't bring in anybody. I'm in for the duration. I'm down to compete. I'm going to be the guy. And Devin Brown also did one other thing. They were talking to him about NIL money, to stay through the bowl game. He put that on the back burner until after the bowl game so he would be aligned with his teammates. That's the kind of player that Devin Brown is. That's the kind of guy that we're getting at the quarterback position for Ohio State. And I think that's why the guys are responding to him. I think that's why the guys are rallying around him. I just think that kind of infectious energy is something that's such a positive for the team. And I think it's a huge ask to have a guy come in and start the first game against the top 10 team in a bowl. But I think Devin's got all those little intangibles, all those leadership things that you want from a quarterback, and I think he's going to do great. And I'm excited to see him.
Yeah, I think Devin's a different cat. He's a different kid. I think he's excited. Again, in football, it's like kind of one of those be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. And I'm sure all year he was wishing to be the starter, and now all of a sudden it's right there in front of him. And he's got the opportunity of a lifetime to go and lock this thing down, to shut down all the portal rumors, to cement his spot next year. And it's something that I'm kind of shocked Kyle McCord didn't want to play ball like that. He wanted to take his ball and go home, and he did. So Devin Brown's got the opportunity of a lifetime. And I think that, with his skill set, I think he can move the pocket more. I think you want to get him comfortable early. You want to have him throw the ball early. You don't have a stagnant, run the ball, protect him type thing. You want him to cut it loose. I mean, he's not a freshman. He's a redshirt freshman. He's been in the system for 2 years. He's a guy that, on three had as the number one player in the country, number one quarterback in the country. So he's got a lot of ability. And I think that he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think that he felt like he wasn't beat out. I think that, he was in a really tough spot where he got to play limited reps, and they put in the little Wildcat package and he got hurt against Penn State. But, you can see how effective he was as a runner. And he's physical. And, again, like this is, you get the chance to lock down basically the starting quarterback catapult position at quarterback next year. And I say catapult because, if he has a big year next year, it could catapult him into the first round. I mean, you've seen it happen with third-year guys that have huge years at Ohio State, and they launch into the NFL. And again, I know that's extremely premature for a guy that hasn't made a start yet, but Dwayne Haskins hadn't made a start yet either going into his third year. And guess what? Magically, he started and had a crazy year and went first round. So nothing is out of the question with Ryan Day's offense, with the amount of talent is on the field, the level of competition we play. I think Devin's going to shred it. Ryan's putting the screws these guys in practice, man. It's really physical. They're doing a lot of team run, a lot of perimeter run, a lot of team pass. So, again, they're really working, different blitzes, coverages. It's not just 7-on-7 and individual work. This is like really physical stuff. And that's what you need to do in bowl practice. In bowl practice, you've got to evaluate your roster. You got to evaluate, again, 30 kids come to his office and all want to say, hey, what's my status? I'm a backup. Do I have a chance to start next year? Do I have a real shot to compete? How much money can I get? Some of the older guys that were debating on going to the draft, they show up to his office and say, hey, I kind of want to go to the league, but if you guys give me enough money, I might just stay. So it's been a long month for Ryan. I'm sure that he can't wait to get on the practice field and really evaluate these guys, because frankly, some of these guys are going to ask for money and he'll say, buzz off. Offensive linemen are getting $250,000, $300,000 to transfer right now. I know for a fact a kid, a MAC kid transferred, got $250,000 to go to, a Big 12 school. And that's the real market right now for these kids. So we'll get into that. Jared Haddle, our first super chat. Appreciate you. These are all going to pay it forward. Appreciate you, brother, as always. Jared has the best tailgate in the game on game days. So look him up. If you guys are members of BuckeyeScoop.com, he always posts a map of where he's at. So appreciate you, my man. Gentlemen, do you see Ryan Day going after the more athletic QBs from here on out? I don't know on that one. I'll ask him about on that one. Also, what's the chances of another coach like Joe Philbin going up in the box when Dennis and Fleming are gone? I don't know what Joe Philbin's plan is. If this is a 1-year stop, I'm sure he's trying to get back in the NFL to be a line coach again. I don't know. He'd have to go up, and you only have so many headsets, but I think he'd be an ace to be up there just because he knows what's going on, and he's won a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator, so he's not like some guy who's it's mysterious for him to be up there in the middle of the action. But Nevada, do you see Ryan Day going after more athletic QBs from here on out? I mean, Aaron Nolan is absolutely an athlete, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I think that you'd look at that, you'd look at Air, and I think you see that's kind of the prototype. I mean, Air's not like a running quarterback per se, but he's a guy that can move. He's an athlete. He can move around in the pocket. Again, you'd have to be a blind person not to see that. I mean, no, who's recruiting the statues anymore? I think we had the last one, and I just don't think those guys are out there anymore. I think the quarterback position is dominated by athletic guys that can move around, guys that can make it happen with their legs and their arm. And I think Ryan is certainly. But if game planning for the Cotton Bowl is any indication, he has certainly embraced it. So I'm optimistic that's what we'll see going forward. I think Aaron Nolan is certainly an indication that Lincoln is absolutely a three-sport star, definitely a guy that can run around. And you know how I feel about Devin. Devin's definitely athletic enough to move around, make some things happen with his legs. So I would say the answer to that one is yes.
Yeah, I just threw on some of Air's stuff so you guys can kind of see what he does. A lot of this stuff looks like some of the stuff we're going to be doing, like empty, spread it out. Play Carnell Tate a lot, play Ennis a lot. I mean, those guys are going to be playing in this game now. I mean, especially if Marvin opts out. I mean, Emeka's going to be the one for sure, and might be the two if Marvin wants to opt in. But it's going to be really exciting to see what these guys can do going forward. But he's a different cat. I think he's got a lot of ability. Obviously, he skyrocketed. He became a 5-star late in the recruiting rankings. So, I think he's got to be excited about it. He's been really productive in high school, and obviously Ohio State liked him as much as they liked Dylan Raiola, so it was huge to get this kid. He's a South Florida Express kid, which I love, but he's really good player. Monty Mitchell, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much. As always, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you, brother. Also to my guy Matthew, who had a little bit of a fender bender, 30 broken ribs, a hip. Dude, we're praying for you, my man. Appreciate you. You're out here every night. I know you were banged up into the hospital, so a lot of good comments on you. So appreciate you, my man. We're thinking about you here. Thanks for tuning in as well. Nevada, as this season kind of keeps cranking to a close, which is kind of sad because we've got a few weeks left in the season. What are some of the things? Marvin Harrison capped off being a unanimous All-American. He was literally an All-American on every team. Won the silver football. Where does Marvin rank all time amongst Ohio State's legends? I mean, he's probably, if not the top receiver, top 3. He's not above Chris Carter, but he's number 2 probably. He's got to get a gold jacket before he's in the Chris Carter conversation. But where does he rank to you in terms of all-time receivers and then all-time offensive players?
Well, let's go back to something you just said. Marvin Harrison, reported late today, won the silver football, which is basically the Big Ten MVP, won it over J.J. McCarthy. And I think that's a bit of an upset considering, how, the kind of year that McCarthy had, how highly regarded. And to me, that really, I mean, a wide receiver winning the Big Ten MVP, I'm not saying it's unprecedented, but that doesn't happen a lot. I mean, that's generally a quarterback award. And so for Marvin to win that was just huge, just another, tremendous honor to go, along with his other, just raft of honors he's gotten here. I mean, look, I think Marvin's got to be in the top 5, right? I mean, like I said, Chris Carter's the GOAT, but after Chris, you've got a lot of great wide receivers, but Marvin's got to be in that discussion. I mean, he's got to be up there with the David Bostons and the Paul Warfields, and just pick any of the recent guys. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, Paris Campbell. I mean, we just had so many great wide receivers on top of great wide receivers. Terry Glenn, Joey Galloway. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to miss guys and upset somebody, but no. I mean, for me, top 5 for sure, maybe top 3.
Yeah, I think he's probably top 2. I mean, he'll get drafted probably higher than any of those guys as a top 5 pick, and then it just depends on what he does in the league. I mean, in the NFL, he seems like a surefire guy, but there's a lot of things that can happen, injuries, whatever. It can derail guys. But, if he stays on this trajectory, I mean, he's going to easily be in the conversation for one with Chris Carter. But, Chris Carter's got a gold jacket. Paul Warfield, gold jacket. Like, that's kind of the benchmark for, I do the cumulative career. It's not just what they did at Ohio State. I think it's the entirety of it all. And guys that are in the NFL Hall of Fame kind of start at the top of the list for me. David Greenshield, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. 2024 OSU offense. Devin Brown at QB. I love it. Brandon Ennis and Tate at receiver. Love that. Jelani Thurman at tight end. I think he's got a lot more upside than G. Scott, but I imagine G. Scott will probably be the guy that takes the first snap in most games. Dallin Hayden at running back. A gentleman thoughts. I think it's spot on. I mean, I think that, if Trey comes back, which there's a lot of shots that, a lot of smoke that he's coming back. I mean, you know, we were talking about this today. If you look at that running back room, Mayan Williams declares for the draft. Chip Trainum transfer portals to Kentucky. Evan Pryor transfer portals to Cincinnati. Why would all of those guys leave for worse situations if Trey was going to the draft? And that's how they felt. Uh, is that kind of the smoke you're reading? Because I mean, like with me in Nevada, like if Chip stays, he's the number one running back at Ohio State. Why would you ever leave that? But he did. Evan Pryor's been sitting around for 3 years, hasn't done anything. Mine, I have no idea why mine declared for the draft because he's not going to get drafted. But like those guys all could have been, in the running to be the number one guy at Ohio State. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, we've said it before. We're told Trey's back, but we don't believe it. But when you read the context clues, I mean, Mayan's decision. Okay, well, maybe he just wants to go and go off. Okay, Chip's decision. Well, that's a little tougher because he would clearly be the guy that was in line to be the number one. Evan Pryor, okay, maybe he feels like he was buried. He's got to get it. But then let's throw on top of all that the fact that Ohio State's not mining the portal right now actively, to our knowledge, for a running back recruit. So it would seem to me that if Trey was leaving, along with Trey, I mean, let's go Trey, Mayan, Chip, and Evan. That doesn't Ohio State have to go to the portal? And wouldn't they be like hitting up every agent, every Doak Walker Award winner, every person named Etienne? I mean, they'd be like going after everybody. And to my knowledge, they're not going after anybody. So
Yeah.
all that adds up to, I mean, the crazy, unthinkable Trey Henderson returning in 2024. I mean, that's the only way that I can read it. And as crazy as that sounds, and as wacky as that would be to us, all the context clues seem to be pointing to that, and that's kind of how I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah, I mean that's how I see it because the Doak Walker Award winner from Oklahoma State literally jumped into the portal right after he got the award. It was like he took the award and went straight to the portal, and I'm sure he's looking for a bag, but our offense has put a lot of guys in the league over the last 10 years, especially at tailback with Zeke and J.K. and basically everyone that we've had that's been a successful starter. Trey Sermon, they've gotten picked in the first couple rounds, 2-3 rounds or so. So it was kind of surprising that we haven't visited with anybody, reached out to anybody. And again, I think that it's because the big deal is that Trey could come back. And again, there's serious money. There's a pot of money out there that is not tied to the collectives. It's just from businesses that could help facilitate that. I mentioned Kroger last night. Like, I mean, I've heard the offer they've made to Marvin. Now, is it enough? I don't know. But if Marvin declares, we'll put some of that money towards Trey. I mean, if Trey comes back, he's the most marquee star on the team in all likelihood. Him and Emeka, I'd imagine. So I think that you gotta just kind of read the tea leaves. Like, I mean, like Chip jumping in the portal was shocking to me because I just feel like he had a nice year and he was productive and scored the winning touchdown against Notre Dame. But if Trey's dipping, man, I mean he's the guy. It'd be him, and then it'd be Dallin, who for whatever reason redshirted, which again I think is the dumbest thing of all time. And then you've got James Peoples, who I think is going to be a superstar here. But as of now, like if Trey dips, man, we're down to like two running backs, and if you're Mark Pantoni or Tony Alford, you got to be freaking out and diving in that portal about as hard as possible to find another dude. I mean, even Will Hartson, the guy from Massillon, who's a walk-on, even he dipped out. So I mean, not that he'd ever play here, but you never know. I mean, if you're the third running back, I mean, you've seen how our backs have gotten hurt over the years. It's you need 3 to 5 running backs to get through a season. D Sonny, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Have you ever seen position battles split a team to the point where coaches had to address it? Not openly, I don't think. I've never seen coaches like have a team meeting and say, "Hey guys, don't hate this guy or hate that guy." And most people don't care about position battles when you're on the team, just because you're just worried about your position. You don't have time to worry about except when it's like a quarterback. Quarterback is like so obvious if there's a guy that's better than the other guy, maybe not getting a shake. Again, I go back to the Troy Smith thing; it was obvious. but that's the one that everybody sees because he's the kind of the captain of the entire team. And how did older guys feel about Terrell Pryor taking over? Well, that was tough. I was actually in the league in 2008, so I missed all of the drama with Terrell. But obviously benching Todd, Todd was all Big Ten the year before, and he kind of took the fall for that USC beatdown where they lost. I don't know if it was like 38-3 or whatever it was when they had Clay Matthews and all those guys. But I think it's always tough when you bench a guy that's a captain like Todd was. He was all Big Ten. I mean, I think he was media team all Big Ten the year before. It was funny because like coming into the season, he was like the number one quarterback on Mel Kiper's big board. And then all of a sudden, that USC meteorite hit our team, and it just the bottom fell out. And they put Terrell in that game, and Terrell, he was able to get around and do some things and look like he belonged on the field. And Truss made the move. Again, it's never easy when you deal with quarterbacks because only one guy gets to play. So you don't get to like rotate. It's not like you're playing receiver, defensive tackle. But yeah, Nevada. I mean, you remember the Terrell thing. I mean, when they benched Todd, they go with Terrell. They had that stretch of pretty easy games where he was able to kind of get his feet wet. What were your thoughts on that? Because I mean, you were right in the middle of all that, as an insider, and you remember the feelings of the team. But with the older guys, it's tough because I could imagine if I was on that team, they benched. I mean, Todd was basically a 6-year senior. You got to remember he gray shirted in 2003. He was my age. And he still had an extra year because they gray shirted him, the old gray shirt, where he came to camp and then he disappeared until school started. And then somehow he had 6 years of eligibility, basically. But what are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, I obviously, if you guys can remember, I had some pretty good sources on the team back then. And what I had heard was, look, there's always drama that kind of goes on with a young guy like Pryor that can kind of rub some of the older guys the wrong way. But that at practice after the USC game, that they kind of called for like the number one. It's like, hey, number one offense, go out there, and then it's like, oh no, Todd, no, not you, Terrell, you go out there with them, and that the older players on the team really felt like the coaching staff kind of embarrassed Todd. They hadn't had a conversation with him about it. They hadn't talked to him about it. They hadn't kind of managed any of the expectations about it. They just kind of it's like they openly benched him in front of everybody and kind of embarrassed him. And I'd heard that was kind of not a great point for that team, and that was a point where it kind of created kind of a schism between some of the younger guys and older guys. Now, again, I wasn't there. I heard this, and I heard this from some of the younger guys' perspective. So maybe that was right, maybe that was wrong, but that was the biggest kind of like team divide thing that I'd never heard of in my 25 years of covering this. And because that was just kind of a special situation. I mean, Pryor had come in with so much fanfare, and everybody expected him to be the guy. And like you said, Todd was the number one, quarterback according to Mel Kiper coming into the draft, and then just kind of lost his. It's like he lost his. He's like Austin Powers. He lost his mojo,
Yeah.
and just couldn't get it back. But no, it'd be interesting to kind of dive into that to see if that's exactly the way that really happened. I think Hartline was part of it. I think Hartline was on the team during that thing, and I think he was one of the older guys that was a little perturbed the way that went down. So, what the heck was that, Mr. Barton? Did you just step on a duck, Mr. Barton, or something like that?
I think I did. It might have been I dropped my cologne or something.
Oh my god! What the heck?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
No, I think Hartline actually did yeah, he had some moments that year. I'll say that at the festival. I heard some great stories about him at the festival. He didn't have a catch, and then he went to the league. But it was one of those interesting deals. I think the hardest part about when you bench a guy is that we're not really good at telling guys that they're benched. So it's kind of funny because we've got there's all these situations where we've had like for instance when I became a starter versus Iowa in 2004. Jim Bowman told me I was going to be the starter, but we went out to walk through, and Tim Schafer had started all the games at right tackle. So we got to walk through. The first group gets up there and sets up, and then all of a sudden, Jim Bowman has to grab me and pull Tim Schafer out. And I know as a starter, but I'm he's already up there. What do I do? Go up there and push him out of the spot? But Jim Bowman didn't tell him that he was the starter. or he was demoted, and then I was the starter. And then we played Michigan in '04, and TJ, Doug Data started every game at left guard leading up to the Michigan game, and then Bowman benched him for the Michigan game. So he started like 11 games, and then for the Michigan game, like we got to walk there and we're standing there, and all of a sudden he goes up to Doug and says, "Doug, you're benched, and TJ, you're in." So like, it's not like one of those how you see it in the movies, or like sitting in the coach's room and there's two guys sitting there and you say, okay, hey, we're gonna go with this guy, or how you see it on Hard Knocks. Like, it was kind of ham-handed. So when they say that, first offense out and no Terrell, you're going instead of Todd, like, I think that like with Zwick, when they benched him in '04 or '05, whatever, they mentioned him twice, like they didn't even tell him. They just said, Troy, you're in. And like it wasn't like there was a meeting or hey, a phone call. It was like, no, we went out to practice and they just, hey, Troy, you're with the ones for good. And like, so we weren't great about communicating that kind of stuff. Luis Torres, next to the 5. Coach Dennis was with Dave visiting Air at his home. Question mark. Does that mean that he's staying on staff? Definitely to make changes on staff. Y'all agree? Nothing is done right now. I'll say it before, I'll say it again. Again, like we've dealt with staff changes. A lot of them come after the bowl game. You got to remember, like Jim Knowles he got hired, and Kerry Combs still coached the Rose Bowl. Like Jim Knowles was hired like early December, and Kerry Combs finished out his career and coached the Rose Bowl when we gave up 8 million yards to Utah and we won by the miraculousness of Jackson Smith and Jigba and CJ Stroud. But Greg Studwara got fired after the Rose Bowl. After the 31-0 loss to Clemson, like Urban Meyer fired Ed Warner on the tarmac, literally, like as the plane landed in Columbus. Like he, was going to fire him at baggage claim, and Ed said, "Hey, can we at least go to my house and or can I at least come to your house and not do it in front of my family?" So again, like there's nothing that's done right now. I think that for the sake of winning this bowl game and how short of a time frame it is, it makes sense to keep the staff together through the bowl game. But Ryan, like when Ryan makes moves, he does it after the bowl game. He doesn't do it before. Like Justin Fry came after the bowl game. That's just kind of how he rolls. So I mean, you can kind of figure out how these coaches move, and again, I think it's a sliding scale depending on how big of a bowl game you're in. Because if you're in a bowl game that's like the Cotton Bowl and you're playing a top 10 team, like you don't want to have 2 coaches get whacked, and then you've got basically 8 coaches coaching against a full staffed Missouri team, and 2 guys that are trying to like learn on the job. Because if you're bringing a coach like right now, he doesn't even know the players' names, he doesn't know the offense, the defense, the scheme, his routing number for his new bank account, his checks can go into. Like he doesn't know anything, so it's not beneficial to the program or to the seniors or to the juniors that are going to leave to make that change now. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way this is going to go down is exactly as you said. I mean, one, Day wants to win the game, so he wants to have staff continuity as far as he can. As long as he's got guys on staff, they got to continue to do their jobs, and that means recruit, go visit, hang out with things, continue to make contact, etc. I think with Corey's contract is up, so it's not like he's going to be fired. His contract is just not going to be renewed. And we've talked about the Parker Fleming thing ad nauseum. I think he'll take another opportunity somewhere else, and then James Laurinaitis will, be anointed and step into that position and be able to be one of the 10 countable coaches, go on the road and start recruiting and start helping out in that thing. So those are the 2 moves that I see being made. But as you mentioned, those won't be done until after the bowl game. Because again, you're not going to get any, you wouldn't be able to replace them now anyway. It's not like you could fire one of those guys and have somebody come in and replace. I mean, Laurinaitis is different because he's on staff, but what are you going to do with Corey Dennis? You're not going to like go out there and grab somebody from nobody's leaving some other team in the middle of the the NFL season or the NCAA college football season to kind of come at this point, and what good would they do in the last couple of weeks anyway? So I think you get through the bowl game, then you make your moves.
Yeah, like I said, when we hired Jim Knowles after the that Michigan game where that was up there 2 years ago, like he didn't do anything until January. Like he was, we hired him in December, and then he kind of came here and might have observed some practices, but he wasn't doing anything. Like Kerry Combs was still running the show until after the Rose Bowl, and then he was kind of on his way. And And again, there were still gyrations that he potentially could have stayed as the corners coach, but then he didn't, and it would end up being Walton and Iliano showing up. So again, there's a lot of moving parts, and nothing is set in stone right now. Sean Krutka, appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the deuce. Any chance Devin's NIL deal requires his number to change? Everybody hates 33. It's hilarious. I think he loves that everybody hates it because that's the kind of kid Devin is. Because he does it for, I think Sammy Baugh was 33. Nevada, do you like him rocking 33?
I do. To me though, like you said, it expresses kind of his individualism. You know what I'm saying? Like because nobody wears 33 anymore as a quarterback, yet he does. And like he's just kind of got this. When you know the kid, he's kind of got this. I just don't care attitude. I'm going to just kind of do my own thing. And he's definitely a free spirit, and he's got that Aaron Rodgers kind of quirkiness to him. And I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's different, and I think it says a lot about him as a person, and I like that message.
Yeah, and he rocks that bolo tie again. Like looks like he's like in the old west or whatever. So he's got his own little thing to him, and that's fine. Again, as long as you can ball, I don't care what number you wear, because it's like Aaron Rodgers like does mushrooms and does darkness retreats and all this other psychedelics, but he can ball once he gets between the white lines. I don't care what you do off the field as long as you can ball. Greg Alberini, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. If you have a question, toss that in there. Dave Seymour, thank you for the 5. If you have a question, also toss it in the chat. Thank you, my friend, for supporting Pay It Forward. Jay Willie, 75. Weird question, but did you ever meet Marcus Freeman's mom? I work with her. Yeah, nice lady. Obviously, we had team functions, team banquets, whatever. Again, like Marcus and I, we were together for 4 years. He was a year younger than me, and we played together. We were captains. He was kind of like a part-time captain in 2007, where they rotated Vern Golston, Malcolm. We had a bunch of different defensive captains. Me, James, and Deontay Johnson were the 3 permanent captains, and then we had like a rotating 4th guy on defense. So yeah, I'm sure she's a great lady. I don't know her that well, just met her in passing, but Marcus has turned out fantastic. Head coach at Notre Dame at a young age, doing good. Greg, appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the 10. Is Tavion St. Clair scholarship worthy? D3 QB, Belfontaine, OHIO. I think he's balling. I mean, I think that guy's his stock has risen probably more than anybody in the country this year. I think he's a superstar. Honestly, I'm gonna toss this film on while we talk about him. Nevada, are you excited about Tavion St. Clair? I mean, he has come out of nowhere. A spot that a lot of people thought was going to be Ryan Montgomery goes to Tavion, and I think he's a potential superstar. But your thoughts on him?
Well, yeah. Well, I had a really good source, one of my Ohio high school coaches, that had told me about him, and at the time he was really I won't say underrated, but maybe underscouted or whatever it was. And they're like, no, dude, this kid is the truth. I mean, you watch him, and he can do a little bit of everything out there on the football field. So it's been really fun to watch him kind of shoot up the recruiting rankings as his performance has gone. But no, he's definitely gone from kind of unknown to big time in a very short period of time, and I'm super excited about it. I mean, he can do it all on the football field.
Ryan Montgomery's committed anywhere. I mean, he's a guy that I think most people thought would come with Luke and come to Ohio State, and Ohio State didn't make the finalist list. And I think a lot of people think he's going to go to Penn State or South Carolina, but kind of a weird one, because a year ago I thought for sure he'd be the guy. But there's been, like I said, the quarterback thing. It's so weird, it's so different. There's so much money on the line, and the funny thing is the money starts like now with the NIL. It's not just it doesn't just start. When you get to the NFL and you're a high draft pick, like, I mean, there's quarterbacks are making 7 figures, and that's part of the gig. If you win the starting spot and you ball out, like, you're gonna get paid. You're gonna be the face of the franchise. You're gonna be the one that people want to do endorsements with, and I think that's something that these guys all take into account. And some of them want an easier path than others. Some will come to compete. Some want it kind of spelled out in ink, like Dylan. I feel like Dylan Raiola. Dylan Raiola going all the way down to Nebraska is kind of interesting, because he's been at 4 high schools. This will be his 3rd commitment when he commits to Nebraska, leaving Georgia after being committed there, and leaving Ohio State after being committed there. It's been a long, strange recruitment for him, but Hope he has fun at Nebraska. Again, I don't know why any quarterback in the universe would go to Nebraska. I don't know what type of pipeline they have, but I don't know how many good quarterbacks they've had that weren't option guys, that weren't Crouch or Tommy Frazier or those types of guys, Scott Frost. But hey, God bless you. Drew Dozer, the Prophet. That's a
No,
great
no,
name.
no, hold
Go
on,
ahead.
hold on. Before you get to that, did you see Penn State's like recruiting reel for quarterbacks? They had like this Christian Hackenberg, Drew Aller kind of mix up, and it's like the pitch to quarterbacks is come to Penn State and be asked, my dude. And it was like, I think I'm surprised that other people haven't kind of jumped on that because the opportunity to be asked at Penn State is really, and we saw it this year. I mean, Drew Aller, he was asked. And like a
Yeah.
lot of people had him to win the Heisman and them to win the national championship. And I'm like, man, he's one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. He's terrible.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, yeah. I mean,
how does the guy get that?
awful.
How does the guy get that? How does he get that bad? I mean, I saw him at Elite 11 and I thought he was like terrific. How does he get so bad? I mean, James Franklin certainly he has a gift for being able to make quarterbacks get bad like that. That's truly remarkable.
I mean, he was terrified at Ohio. I mean, I was watching that game and you could feel it from the stands how scared that kid was. I mean, we're like 1 for 15 on first down or on third down. You couldn't do that if you tried on like Madden rookie mode. 1 for 15. They couldn't do anything. And he's a guy that a lot of people thought was a 5-star hyped up dude and just nothing there. All right, so I go Drew Dozer, the Prophet. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the deuce. What's your thoughts on Horrible Ball's turd khakis? Well, I don't know. I mean, we used to wear khakis. I don't think we do anymore. Now we're like slate colored pants, but he's a weird dude. He's the guy that wears the same outfit every day. The khakis. I know you guys make fun of me because I've got all my hoodies that all look the same, but he wears his khakis and his blue pullover like every day, the same one. So he's a different cat. He's on the spectrum, dude, and I don't know. Like I don't know. I mean, he's beaten us the last 3 years, so I mean, the magical khakis must be working or doing something. But he's like I said, it's funny how he was 0-5 and everybody hated him, and then magically he's good. And it'll be interesting to see if they get ran by Bam because I think Bam's going to smash these guys. I really do. But what are your thoughts on the khakis in Nevada? It's a great question.
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of his. Like you said, he's on the spectrum, and that's not being disrespectful to anybody who's on the spectrum or making fun of that. It's just a fact. I mean, he's a weird dude who's got some sort of disabilities, as it were, and I think for him, it's comfortable for him to wear those khakis and do his thing, and kind of that's kind of his shtick. But again, I want to say something that's I love taking these minority positions, but I think he's a pretty good football coach. I mean, I thought he took a team to the Super Bowl in the NFL, which is not easy. He's won. He won at Stanford. He beat one of the greatest USC teams of all time. He has a 49-point underdog.
So
He's gone to Michigan, and whether he's cheated or whatever he's done, he's turned them around. So, the Harbaugh family, they know how to coach. I mean, I think John Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the NFL. His dad obviously was a great time coach. So I don't have to like him. I totally think that they're going to get nuked to the Stone Age. I think they cheated to kind of get back on it, but he did what he had to do to win, and for that, part of me admires the fact that he did that, and I know that might get me killed on an Ohio State board, but I'm all about winning, man. You are who your record says you are, and Harbaugh's been able to win everywhere he went, and that's not easy to do.
I agree. Drew Dozer wants to clarify. Thanks for the deuce again. Turd stained khakis. He says, laugh out loud. Again, I think that he's. It was easy, like again, it was easy to make fun of him when he went on 5, but I remember when he first got there, it's like, oh boy, him and Urban is going to be the new 10-year war. Because I thought, I'm like you, like dude, if you take a team to the Super Bowl, I mean, and he was literally like one play away, and it was a really terrible call. They're on like the 2-yard line, and they threw like a fade to Crabtree, and he didn't get it. But I mean, that's unbelievable. And he lost to a good Ravens team. It was Ray Lewis's last game, but it just. I don't know. Like if he can win at Stanford at a big time level, then you're a great coach. If you beat that USC team like 49-point dogs. I remember because that was my senior year. That was '07, and I think Richard Sherman was on that team. They're on that Stanford team, but I played in the Senior Bowl with like 5 USC guys. I was kind of like the adopted USC guy because I was the only Ohio State guy down there. And I was like, how did you guys lose to Stanford? Like 49-point favorite. You guys lost to Stanford. But I mean, that was kind of right when they were starting to hit that wave where they were getting some really good players. And then, McCaffrey came there, and then, Harbaugh left and went to the 49ers. And, he turned the 49ers around, because I was with the 49ers with Singletary, and then they fired Singletary. They brought Harbaugh in, and the 49ers were like a Ferrari that was just getting scraped along the highway wall, because they had, like, a guy that wasn't a great coach. Mike Singletary's a great man, not a great coach, fantastic player, Hall of Famer, obviously. But I was like, God, are there some talented guys here? And then Harbaugh shows up, and they go to like the moon, because they had Patrick Willis, and they had Vernon Davis, and they had Justin Smith, Joe Staley. I mean, these guys are like freaks of nature, Frank Gore, superstars. And like, with Singletary, I mean, we're going like 6-10, 8-8, and Harbaugh gets there, all of a sudden they're like a devastatingly good team. So that's why, like, when he went to Michigan, man, I was like, this guy's going to be real. And then we beat him 5 times, and the natives get restless. But there's a reason why these NFL teams at least want to interview him. He interviewed with the Broncos, who went with Sean Payton. He interviewed with the Vikings. I wouldn't surprise me at all if he interviews with Carolina or Chicago in this offseason. But I think I don't think it's far fetched to say he's not a great coach. And again, like, he's beaten us 3 straight times, so he's doing something right. Nevada, they got 2 more practices, and again, bowl practices, like this week of bowl practice is really tough. Like, Brian's going to put the screws to him again tomorrow. Inside run, a lot of physical drills. I think it's really important for the young guys. What are some things that you want to hear coming out of the Woody Hayes the next 2 days, as they crank it up? Because there's a little bit of game plan stuff right now, but it's mostly physicality and toughness and scrimmaging the young guys. I don't think you need to beat the tar out of the old guys that have already played 12 games, but some of the young guys need the tar beat out of them. But what are your thoughts on what you want to get out of practice and the game plan?
Well, what I'm watching just to see how long these veterans continue to practice, and how long that kind of goes with in terms of their intentions. Because the longer it goes, I mean, look, it's not indicative of anything. It's not a guarantee, but it sure as heck not a bad sign when you have those guys out there grinding and doing things, especially like you said, when practice isn't fun and practice is hard. So I think for Ohio State, the longer we keep those guys engaged, I think the better chance that there is those guys. Some of those guys are playing, or most of those guys are playing, or all those guys are playing. So, that's number one. Two, just continue to watch those offensive line battles. I'm so intrigued by what they're going to do with Fryer, and are they going to move him to guard, or they moving other guys to guard, or what they're going to do at the right tackle spot. You've got Chase Basantis coming in this weekend, but you've got guys that are really grinding hard for that job and really kind of auditioning right now. And I like the way that that's kind of going. I like the way that that's going, because I think we've got a lot of dudes in the offensive line room that just haven't had a chance to play. This year, like, how deep did we go on the offensive line? We played the same 5 guys like the entire season, with some sprinkling of Luke Montgomery as like the extra tight end. But did anybody else get any appreciable playing time on the
No,
offensive line this year? I
nope.
can't think of it. So, so where does that leave guys? It just leaves them untested. And some of these guys are highly regarded. Some of these guys have been really good in practice. Some of these guys, have been right there with the guy that was ahead of them, but they just haven't had a chance to show it yet. So I'm going to be watching those offensive line battles to see how that kind of goes along, and just continue to watch the quarterback thing. I want to see if Ryan Day continues to run the quarterback using the dual threat of Lincoln, of Devin, moving those guys around, moving the pocket, and having expressing that offensive creativity that we've seen from him in some of these big games, and will we see it through into the Cotton Bowl? That's what I'm going to be keeping an eye out for.
Yeah, I want to see some of the creativity. This is a play from earlier in the year. Obviously, Devin to Mayan. Here's little Marvin picking the play right here. But this is beautiful. Again, this is the kind of stuff I think we're going to see, some wheel routes, some stuff that's tough to get used to in coverage. Again, he rips some really nice throws. I'm just going through some game tape just to see some stuff that he's done, and what Ryan can do with him. That's exceptional. I think this is yeah, but he's I think that the game plan of moving him around is going to be important, because I think he's got to get him comfortable. He's the kind of guy that, if you watch him in high school, he likes to run, and when he runs a little bit, he gets comfortable, and then he can ace those throws. And you got to kind of play to the strengths of these guys. Pooh Beard, I love this name, it's the best. Pooh Beard 12, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. In the NFL, the best teams are made in the draft with free agents filling out the gaps. I would not freak out about the portal. Our recruiting is A plus. I agree. I mean, I think that, one thing that you can take note of with this cycle with the transfer portal, like, we're not super active in it. We've talked to some kids. Carter Smith was a kid that went back to Indiana today. A lot of people thought we were going to get him. We said no. I think that, quarterback wise, we reached out to Cam Ward. But it's, again, is he worth clearing your whole room out and kind of changing the culture of your team? I don't think he was. So rolling with Devin Brown and Lincoln. I think that, the portal, it's interesting because it's so new. And I think you can chap some guys by going after a bunch of guys in their position room. You bring in a bunch of running backs, even if you don't get them, it kind of shakes up the room a little bit. These kids are very emotional. These kids are very delicate. Some of these guys, because you got to remember, like a lot of these guys that are backups at Ohio State are getting offered like serious cash, like $300,000 to transfer to another school. So I mean, they have offers. So if you want to mess with them and bring in a bunch of people at their position, there's a chance some of these guys hit the portal. And again, I don't know if there's more guys that will after the game or what the situation. I think these next 2 weeks will dictate a lot in terms of if guys are all in or if they're 1 foot out the door. But I think that something that Ryan has kind of came to grips with at this point is that let's roll with the guys we got and evaluate them and see what we got and not make any brash decisions and bring guys in unless it's a true game changer, a true game wrecker, a guy that is a cinch difference maker, a cinch starter. Because frankly, we had Davison was a home run. Obviously, he played great. Josh Simmons was good, but we whiffed on. Tyler Malone's still on the roster, but we paid that kid and he didn't play. He didn't contribute at all, and that's a kid that I really thought would give us something. Now I know he's been playing baseball and whatever, but like we couldn't put him in the game. In meaningful snaps. Victor Cutler is a kid that we paid money to come here, and he couldn't get in the game. And when you pay a kid like Victor Cutler, who was a starter at Louisiana Monroe or Louisiana wherever he was from, when you pay that kid, and all of a sudden he doesn't play, a lot of these kids check out. Hey, I got my bag, got my money, I'm good. I'm just going to kind of grind the season out. He graduated from Ohio State, so now he's a grad transfer, and he's right back in the portal. So I think that it's delicate because, if you bring in a guy, frankly, that sucks and you pay him a couple $100,000 to suck and be a backup, I think it upsets the morale of the team. Now, I'm just saying that because these guys are humans. And, if you beat out some guy who's making a couple $100,000 and you're making $0,000, then what the F? It kind of is what it is. But I think Ryan is avoiding some of that by not being overly aggressive in the portal. Now, again, if Jahmyr Gibbs is in the portal or some superstars in the portal, Justin Fields, that's a different conversation. But those guys aren't there, at least not that I see. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, I want to. We're going to go into the classroom now. This is going to be Nevada 101, where we're going to teach you a couple of things. Like when we talk about like the OSU narrative, sometimes we talk about how narratives kind of get put out there, and you might be sitting back there kind of going, "What is Nevada talking about? What's he talking about narratives? What's the thing?" Well, let me give you an example today. Portal example. The kid from UTSA, the sack kid, the 24 sacks, that was going to be coming in this weekend, and decided not to come in this weekend. I believe he's going down to Miami or going down to some other school. Will not be visiting Ohio State. So immediately, you see on social media some things from people that follow the program. Oh, Ohio State said he's not a fit for their scheme. He's a 3-4 outside linebacker, and he doesn't fit in terms of what Ohio State's wanted to do. So they kind of blah blah blah. That's the narrative right there. That's when they don't get somebody. We cooled on him. We passed on him. We didn't want him. We didn't. He doesn't fit. He doesn't play the right position. And look, sometimes that's true. It's not every time. But in like this case, this was spin, man. They wanted that kid big time. Didn't get him, but immediately had to come out with the comments about how he didn't fit the system, didn't play the position, wasn't a fit for the team, blah 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 blah. So that was That's class dismissed for Nevada 101. We'll have these class sessions from time to time, but that was on the subject of the OSU narrative and seeing it in action today up close and personal.
14 sacks. Don't need that. That's probably more than our whole team had this year. Brennan Shelley, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, man. Are we looking for a running back in the portal? I haven't seen us talk to a single running back, and we talk to all the big agents, and they rep all these running backs. And I haven't heard us reach out to the guy from Oklahoma State, who that'd be the first call I'd make. He just won the Doak Walker over our guys. So again, like it just smells like Trey's coming back. I just, I mean, uh, we haven't we haven't reached out. We've reached out to a bunch of linemen, corners, safeties, linebackers, quarterbacks, no running backs. Not that I've seen. Now, Nevada, have you heard of us talk about a single running back or hear about a single running back at all?
I haven't. Now, is it possible that they've done it and it's just been super clandestine and under the radar and just kind of escaped our gaze? That is absolutely possible. Unlikely, but possible. But I haven't heard anything. No, just because, like I said, the agents always talk about this stuff, and they're always talking too much. Oh yeah, Ohio State's interested in Iverson. I haven't heard a single agent talk about Ohio State's interested in my client, the running back, and that seems to be a tell. Seems to be an important data point. We'll see what it means, but I haven't heard of them reaching out to any running backs in this portal season.
Yeah, like ETN obviously is going to Georgia. The kid from Florida who's really good. That's the guy from Clemson's little brother. The kid from Oklahoma State. Like, I mean, if we really needed a tailback, we'd go after one. But I just don't think we do because I think Trey's coming back. I think Trey's the guy that's I mean, he's holding the cards right now. And again, there's a big pot of money out there for these guys that want to come back. And I think there's some terms. And again, it's not all or nothing anymore. It used to be like that. It used to be, hey, if you come back for that senior year, man, you're risking it all, and you're not going to get any money, and no disability insurance or whatever. Now you can get all that for free. I mean, you can get a big check and have a good time. So I don't know. I think like as of right now, I think Trey's coming back. Now again, he could declare tomorrow and it looks stupid, but I just think when you look at the tea leaves, when Tony Alford thinks he's coming back, and when you've got a bunch of guys fleeing the room, it seems like those guys kind of are heads up on things. Now, again, it could all just be fodder, it could all be whatever, but if not, if I'm James Peoples, I'm stoked because he's going to show up and he's going to be the only guy in the room with Dallin Hayden, and James could beat out Dallin Hayden easily. So yeah, Nevada, like the Olave thing. Olave coming back was surprising to me. He was probably, it's probably about as shocked as I've been. Olave, because he could have gone and been a top 20-ish pick, 25-ish pick. He would have ran well. He's a great kid, a really good player. But again, in college football, it's nothing surprises me because with NIL, it changes recruiting, it changes who goes early. Like, I mean, again, if you'd have told me Quinn Ewers was coming back for a fourth year, I'd said there's no way, no chance, no how, no way. But they made the decision. They're coming back. They're going to get some money, bunch of money, and then he gets to play a fourth year at Texas and has a chance to win a national championship both this year and next year. So anything is possible. Well, Nevada, I think we can wrap this thing. Any final thoughts? We had a nice crowd tonight. Appreciate you guys as always. Any final thoughts?
No, just I am getting ready. I'm planning my meal for my January 1st, the watch party, Michigan Alabama game. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the honey baked ham. I may go with like they have this thing where they got like the ham and the smoked turkey breast kind of combo that you can kind of get. So I can make sandwiches. I make like a ham sandwich and a turkey sandwich. And I'm planning everything out. I would encourage everyone to free their calendars up for that day. Free it up for the big watch party, January 1st, Michigan Alabama game. We'll be partying, celebrating the win in the Cotton Bowl on the 29th. So we'll have a couple days of come down from that, and we'll celebrate the end of Michigan football as we know it on January 1st, 2024. So buckle up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm jacked for it. It'll be good. Appreciate you guys kicking it with us again. We'll be back again tomorrow. As always, thank you guys. If you guys enjoyed the show, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell if you like our live shows. Again, Bowl practice is in full swing. We've got a lot of feelers out. We're going to get a lot of information the next couple days, see who is looking good. So keep it tuned at 2buckeyescoop.com. But again, as always, shout out where you guys are watching from. I see my Southern Ohio boys are in here deep. Thank you to all of our regulars that tune in each and every night. You guys are the best. Thank you for all the super chats tonight. Appreciate you guys so much. As always, it's going to be a great cause up through Christmas. So thank you. As always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.